Welcome to the Signal Pres podcast. Welcome to the Signal Pres podcast, the place for you to learn, to grow, and to get connected to the body of Christ here at Signal Pres. I am your host, Abby Hutto.
And today I'm your other host, John Livingston.
What?
Come on.
Right now, everybody is saying, what the what?
They cannot believe it.
I know.
They are shocked.
So what do you think people think happened to Joey? Let's have a few guesses. What do you think? You know what I think, but what do you think?
I think they think that maybe he's gone because of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, maybe.
He could have hit the New York Times bestsellers list.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they think he got famous and left.
Yeah, oh my
That's
goodness.
a possibility.
He's got to do a real TED Talk
That's right.
tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to, he's got to go.
He's just really
be in a
soared
think tank
to the heights.
Is that a thing that people do?
Yeah, I think that's one possibility of what could have happened to Joey.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think people are going to think?
What do you think?
I think people are going to think it finally happened. Abby finally murdered him and hid his body.
Yeah.
And that is why he's not here today.
This is a scary room, so I can see that.
I mean,
there's hanging wires, a lot of places.
There is, the possibilities of what happened to Joey are endless. But you know what the other possibility could be?
What?
He could just be sitting across from us right now.
That's exactly
because guess what, guys?
Hi.
It's the Joey episode.
Yeah.
We get the distinct joy of interviewing Joey today. So how the turntables have turned.
Seriously.
Joey Sherrard. How's it feel to be on that side of the How's it feel to be on that side of the desk?
I feel very vulnerable at this particular moment. This could go any number of directions.
It really
but
could.
on the other hand, I still have editing access to this episode, so I feel confident at the same time.
But we have a core value that we don't edit, so
right.
you'd have to go against your own core value.
That's a core value of Signal Pres. Generational discipleship, and we do not edit.
No editing.
So, Joey, for those of us who may not know you because we've never listened to the podcast before, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am married to Kate. I have two sons, Joseph, who's 18, James, who's 15. And I've been a pastor at Signal Pres for over 10 years now.
Did you get like a special pin when you hit 10 years that you could put on your lapel?
No. I got a shout out on Slack, though.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Hey,
nice.
that's something.
Yeah. Shout out to Ricky Lynn. Thank you.
Exactly. I feel like some people put the ta-da emoji on that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good.
I always hit multiple emojis on those just for you. I never say anything in response, but I always emoji.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you gotta like love people, but you gotta be cool about it.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to be a dork.
Exactly.
Can't say like congrats.
I know.
So.
No. It's not cool enough.
Too much.
So, because you are sitting on that side of the table, which, I mean, ironically, you're sitting in your exact same spot because no one else knows how to work the controls.
Both of you are sitting
But
at
the
that
power
side
side is on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And because you're sitting on that side of the table, we're going to make you play a game.
Okay.
It's your favorite part, Joey. He loves the games.
I feel like
I'm so glad.
I feel like I'm learning empathy right now.
I know.
for our
Now you
guests.
feel bad for Scott Bowen. All right. So we're going to kick off a game.
That sounds great. So this game is called Hot Seat or Speed Dating, depending on your generation. Abby and I kind of talked. If you go too long on your answers, like we're gonna cut you off. Like we're talking about, like we want like 1, 2, 3 word answers.
Yeah.
And we want them to come quick. Okay. So like if you go on a story, I don't care how good the story is. Like we're moving on to the next.
Yeah.
Levels.
We've entered the John era of this podcast.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
Yeah, Gen Z, they got quick attention spans. We can't be just. But anyways, Joey, if you could only listen to one song for a year, what would it be? Just one song.
Oh man.
Yeah, he has to think. He can't help himself.
Yes.
Kids are scrolling right
I
now.
know. Exactly. Currently, it would be the Hall of Fame induction version of George Harrison's "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" with a Prince on guitar solo. That thing is magic.
Okay, that sounds like a great answer.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fake answer. Is that a real song?
It's "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" is a Beatles song. It's on the White Album, and like when George Harrison was inducted. See, I'm doing this.
I
I'm
know.
monologuing. Anyways,
He's a storyteller.
yeah. I just got waved off.
Yeah. The video version of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Joey, if you could be any character in a Tolkien novel, well, who would it be and why?
I wish I could be like Frodo or Sam, one of the two.
Why?
The book
because
versions, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Not the postmodern versions.
Not the exactly. Yes. Yeah, I wish I could be like Frodo because he is brave and courageous and faithful. I wish I could be like Sam because he's a really good friend.
And neither one of them cares what their feet look like, which is pretty freeing.
That's right. That's right. So Joey, let's say it's a spring. You got allergies coming around. You got different sicknesses going around. What's one medicine that you take that you don't mind? It's a pretty good tasting medicine. What's something that I get to taste that?
Like Hall's cherry cough drops.
Yeah,
not
very
bad.
good.
Not bad.
When I was growing up, I used to just eat those. My mom had them in the closet, and we weren't allowed to have candy much or anything.
Yeah.
But I had those.
I mean, totally. Like, if there's any physicians listening to the podcast, I do just wonder, like, are you really limited to 2 per hour, or is that just?
That sounds like fake news to me.
Yes.
So.
I mean,
all right. In your expert opinion, is a hot dog a sandwich or is cereal soup? And explain your reasoning.
I don't think a hot dog is a sandwich. No, because of like it's inverted. That doesn't make sense to me, and it's not the right shape. Sandwiches are square.
It has all the right components, though.
It does, but I mean that doesn't apply to everything, right? Is a cereal soup? No, I don't know because you don't have soup for breakfast, and you have cereal for breakfast. I don't know.
Okay. You don't.
I'm a simple man. What can I say?
No, I like that. Joey, let's say you had to choose a favorite mythical creature. What's one you just enjoy hanging out with? What's one you feel like you're one with?
Yeah. Are they called griffins? Is that what they're called? Like head of a lion, body of a body but with wings.
Yeah. Those are dope.
Yeah, exactly. But also like Harry Potter.
Yeah,
yes.
if you're sure, better be Gryffindor.
That's
exactly.
Right.
That's from the Sorting Hat. Y'all weren't expecting a Sorting Hat reference today.
I like it.
Sorry if there's any anti-Harry Potter folks out there.
They're not. They won't listen to this anyways.
They are a large constituency of our audience.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, if you were stuck on an elevator for 31 floors, so like not forever, but also for long enough, with a celebrity, who would you want it to be? You can use celebrity very loosely.
Timothee Chalamet.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
wasn't expecting that.
I was not expecting that.
He's a soccer fan. He's like he seems to be a man of many interests.
There's more to him than his pretty face. Is what I hear you
but
saying.
he's there's more going on there.
Yeah, and he's for a young man, he's had quite the career. He was in Interstellar. Did you guys? I forgot that he did. He's at the beginning of Interstellar.
Big golfer too.
Really?
You know
something there.
that he is my daughter's celebrity crush, so she would hope to be on the elevator with you.
He's not an opera or ballet fan, apparently. Anyways,
Well, you know what? You need to pick someone else. You already know enough about Timothee Chalamet.
I just want to get to what's this? Is he a method actor? I don't know.
So Joseph, describe your sneeze style.
Well, it depends on the context, right?
We'll say allergy.
If I would say, if I'm around my family, they would say it's explosive, jarring, and frightening.
Yeah.
But around everybody else, in fact, I was in a funeral, and I was sitting next to Philip and Hannah James, and like afterwards, they were like, "That was the quietest sneeze I've ever heard."
Wow,
it's a true story.
Okay.
I feel like the way you vomit and the way you sneeze probably says a lot about your personality. We won't ask you about the other one.
Not interested.
What does Gen Z have to say about that?
They wouldn't be a fan. They're not.
So, final question, and you'll see why we're asking this in just a moment. Have you ever been to St. Augustine, Florida?
I've never been. Never been.
Pity, because you just wrote a book.
Hey, you should make it down there.
That's right.
Similar interests.
Pilgrimage.
So, the reason we have you sitting on that side of the table today is because we are going to get to talk to Joey about his book, which is, in fact, not about St. Augustine, Florida. It's not a travel guide, but it is about St. Augustine, which spelled very, very much the same, but said very differently and meaning two very different things. So your book came out last week, The Augustinian Pastor, Deep Wisdom for Modern Ministry by And I learned this. He is the Reverend Dr. Joey Sherrard.
Yeah.
The Reverend Doctor, which I feel like we need to call you that from here on out.
Yeah.
Because that sounded very boss.
Yeah. But
From
it's
on
not in the book.
stage.
That's just what they called me at the thing.
Yeah, but that's who you are. So we should just start calling you that.
So does ordination
but no
make you
thanks.
reverend? Or?
It does. Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
So-
And I'm so interested that it's not Dr. Reverend, it's Reverend Doctor. I don't understand why that order happens that way.
You want to give glory to God or the academy? I mean,
There you go.
come on.
Oh.
Well, you can
gosh.
give glory to God in the academy.
Yeah, that's right.
There's
There
a
you
lot
go.
of
There you go.
there's a lot of great things going on.
Yeah. So
At
we're
many
just
academies.
gonna spend a few minutes talking to you about your book.
Yeah.
Joey, talk to us about how you first got introduced to Augustine, and also what are some habits that shaped him that have also shaped you, or what have you learned through his habits?
I was first introduced to Augustine in like a superficial way. I think in one of my undergrad classes on sort of early church theology. And so I think we read a portion of the Confessions, which is probably his most well-known and most accessible book. And then I read it again during my first year of seminary in kind of early Christianity, a class I took my first semester there, which I loved, the Confessions. It's a great, fantastic book. But I sort of got reintroduced to him in 2020 when I started reading him again in the midst of that season. But I started reading him again, realizing that he was a pastor, because I had read him before, and people think about Augustine as a theologian.
Yeah.
Like people read his books in like intro to philosophy classes. He's been known as a political theorist. Some people think about him in terms of like the period of history called late antiquity. And all of that's true and fair, but he spent 40 years pastoring like a local church in Africa. And I started reading him again, like thinking not so much about how different he is than me. And he is different. I mean, he's much smarter and in all sorts of ways. And but I started reading him as someone who was similar to me because we have the same vocation. And that really changed how I started to read him.
But you're not a pastor of hippos.
Or zebras.
No.
Shout out Matt Broom.
How did Augustine become a pastor? I feel like I've read some about it.
Yes,
but
tell
me
that
more
story.
about, like, I
That's
think
a good
it's
one.
an
Yeah.
interesting story.
I love to tell this story.
Yeah.
So Augustine grew up in a Christian home, at least half Christian. His father eventually became a Christian, but was not. But his mother was a very faithful Christian woman, Monica. But he kind of wandered away, dabbled in kind of what would be the 300 AD version of New Age religion, and kind of did his best to just sort of make his own way in the world, but became a Christian when he left Africa, went over to Italy,
Gotcha,
kind of got to the highest parts of in one career, and then he gave it all up,
Okay.
surrendered to Jesus, and he moved back to North Africa. He was famous. His reputation preceded him, but he just wanted to kind of live a quiet, contemplative life with other people. And he knew that people wanted to make him a pastor. And so he would like studiously avoid open pulpits for fear of people like basically saying, all right, you're the guy. And so he showed up in a local church in Hippo Regis, and
Which is why he's a pastor of hippos.
that's why he's a pastor of hippos. And he, the sitting bishop, a man named Valerius, knew he was going to be in town and saw him in the back of the church and said to the congregation, like, I think God wants to call someone to the ministry today. And so the congregation,
Like a mean joke.
Exactly. Exactly. I see that hand. He like the congregation, like quite literally dragged Augustine to the front of the church, and they laid hands on him and ordained him to ministry. And in that time, and in that particular part of the church, they thought, if that happens, you have become a pastor. Like that's how strongly they viewed ordination. Wow. And he wept. He thought, this is not what I want to do.
Not
with my
tears
life.
of joy.
Not tears of joy. But to his credit, he lived the next 40 years of his life pastoring in that church.
Was he afraid of persecution towards pastors, or where's the weeping?
Yeah,
or
I
towards
think
Christians. Sorry,
he wanted to live a quiet life of kind of contemplation and intellectual reflection. Like being a pastor was a busy life for him. It meant less time to read and think. It meant more time to preach. And basically, in the local churches also had a civil function, and so he would have to basically sit and adjudicate cases between people. And he would do that. He'd skip lunch, and so his days were just full of everything that he didn't want to do.
Interesting.
And so he just wanted. This is not what he wanted to do, and yet he did it faithfully. I think he did it pretty well.
Wow, very cool.
Wouldn't that be funny if in like seminary, one of your classes, John, was like how to adjudicate
right
civil cases?
I think that would be useful. I think we call it like a reconciliation ministry,
That's
maybe.
Right.
But I think that'd be great. Adjudication ministry.
Adjudication.
That's right.
So I do actually want to circle back to the second part of that question. What are some habits that shaped Augustine, and how have those habits also shaped you?
Yes, I think habits that shaped Augustine included praying the Psalms. So Augustine produced, within the history of the church, the first full commentary on every single psalm. And for me, like praying the Psalms is something I try to do every day, and with a community of friends, we try to pray through them together around the same time. I think friendship shaped Augustine. Augustine. There's this great quote from Peter Brown's biography of Augustine, which is a great place to maybe not to start, but to continue if you're reading Augustine, where he says Augustine will never be alone. Like he's always surrounded by people. He just knew how important friendship was. So sometimes we kind of have this kind of great man or great woman like theory of history, these like singular people who do everything. And sometimes we can tell that story about Augustine, but he was made not just by his own gifts, but by his friends. And I think for me, friendship has been an institution that's changed me, and that I care a lot about. I try to think about my friendships and try to help other people think about their friendships as well. And I think connected to that is Augustine. Augustine was even while he was a pastor, he was kind of committed to a way of life that we might call like living like a monk. I mean, he lived with other brothers in a monastery even while he preached, and so there was like a way of life that ordered his life. And so I think thinking about what sometimes we call like a rule of life is something that I try to think about as well with Augustine. And so these friends of mine who like we have a loose rule of life that we follow together to just kind of think about how to order our days. And so those things shaped Augustine, and those are kind of things that I've tried to learn from him as I've tried to kind of apprentice myself to him.
Yeah, that's great. I want to hear more about, I feel like this leads into our next question really well, but like when you thought about writing this book, like what was the motivating factor? Like what was the thing that you were like, I want to write this book because I think this needs to be in the world? Which part?
Yes. I mean, I would say there's probably three things that flow together.
I would expect no less of you.
Exactly.
3 points.
Oh, another 3-point sermon. Thanks, Joey. I think one was I have always thought how much I need mentors in my life. And I have had some wonderful mentors, but there are just times where I just recognize my own need for guidance. And so I have had wonderful mentors who are alive today, but Augustine was someone who, in the course of like working on this book, I really thought of myself as being mentored by him at a distance of ages and just trying to learn about the vocation of the pastor from him. Second, I think related to that was, I think I was, I started writing it in 2020, and I think I just knew, gosh, I just need to kind of dig a deeper well for pastoral ministry just to find, because there's just, the world felt crazy then and still feels crazy now. And sometimes when we look to our contemporaries, we can learn really helpful things. But sometimes we just find that they're actually kind of trapped in the same things that we are. Mm-hmm. And so it's helpful to look back and see people who weathered storms that were not the same as ours, but were similar enough. And so we can look back to them and say, okay, what did they do? Like, where were they faithful? How can I learn from them? Both for better, and sometimes, they made mistakes because they're not Jesus. But so I kind of looked to him to say, okay, how can I endure in pastoral ministry? I've have been a pastor for now almost 20 years, and Lord willing, I'll be a pastor for another 20 years. And Augustine was a faithful pastor for that long. So how can I look to someone who's as far as I know, ran the race well and finished. And the third thing is as I sort of got into this, I just wanted to share it with other pastors because I love this vocation. I think it's wonderful. I think, anyone who seeks to be an elder seeks to do a good thing, right? And so I just wanted to encourage people because I have chances to be around pastors in the EPC and in other places. And so I just... It's a beautiful vocation, but it's also a really hard vocation. Lots of people don't make it. And so I just wanted to kind of pass on what I had learned from Augustine to them.
That's great. One day you'll be the old man.
It's going to be great.
Lord willing.
Lord willing. That's right.
That other people are like, let's gain some wisdom from old man Joey.
It's going to be great. I'll be one of those people. For those who are not called into professional ministry, what do you hope they can glean from this book? What's kind of your desire for them, maybe even with Augustine as a whole?
Yeah. I think the first half of the book go back to those kind of habits that Abby was talking about. So the first 4 chapters, I think, can apply. I mean, they are written to pastors, but I think that they apply broadly to everyone. So the first chapter is about knowing your story, and Augustine, if you were going to start reading Augustine, I would start with the Confessions because it is his spiritual autobiography. And I think what he does there is he reminds us the importance of knowing our story so that we can continue to kind of be faithful to what God has for us now. So he can look back and see what God was doing, and he can realize God's faithfulness to him, which I think provides for him the kind of fuel to keep on walking in the faith that God will continue to be faithful to him. But also he can look back and say, gosh, these are these kind of patterns of sin that are in my life. And so looking back to those, like, what does that tell me about what I should watch out for moving forward? I think we all need friends. And so I think he shows us a way of thinking about friendship that is intentional and gives us, I think the word I have used is it kind of gives us a script for friendship. Because I think sometimes we come to friendship, and when we use the word friend, we could mean my soulmate, or we could mean
that guy who delivers my mail.
That's right. Yeah. Or the person who, I mean, we have 17 mutuals on Facebook, and I don't know who they are, but they friended me.
We're friends now.
We're friends, right? And then when we think about our friend, and so it could mean any of those things. And then we think about our friendships. I think sometimes we think, gosh, what should a friend be? Like, we don't know. We're just happy to have one. And I think Augustine, he shows us friendships that are marked by warmth and like-mindedness, but also are kind of marked by like a common journey towards a goal of truth and loving God together, which means that I think it just shows us how we can like stay in relationship to one another, even when sometimes it's just a little like there's conflict, right? I think sometimes in our modern friendships today, if there's conflict, we're like, I'm done. This is not what friendship is about. But so I think he shows us that. He shows us, so I think he has some wonderful things to say about humility. Pastors especially need to be humble, and people in ministry, because when we're not, it multiplies. The effects of our pride have exponential effect on the people whom we serve. But we're all called to be humble, and I think he has some really neat things to say about that. He also has some wonderful things to say about love, which is our primary vocation, no matter what it is that we do. So
So are those the first 4 chapters of the book?
Those are the first 3 things I said are 3 of the first 4, and then love is in the second half of the book. But also can help you think about. I think it can help you think about how to listen to a sermon. Mm-hmm. Can help you think about the church. And it can maybe help you just be a better follower of Jesus. We're all called to be a part of the church.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's probably less helpful for that. But if you keep reading it,
keep reading,
yes.
you'll find all kinds of treasure. I am sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Thanks for letting us chat with you about your book. We are so very proud of you. We know how much work. Well, we don't know, but like we think we know how much work that was. So, how long were you writing the book?
About 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, nice. And a lot of people here and staff really were cheerleaders for it, which I'm really grateful. And there was a group of people whom, right before I was submitting the manuscript, I was submitting the proposal, they started praying for me. And so those people are, they're very, very special, and grateful for them for their long work of friendship.
Yeah, it's a long process to write a book and do all the things that come with it.
Is this the first time you've done something like this, or?
Yeah, it's first time. I mean, I did a dissertation, and that was published. So that was kind of very supported by the program that I was a part of. Yeah, and I was doing that largely full time. So this is the first time I've ever done anything
awesome
like this. That hopefully more than like the 2 people who read my dissertation will read. Yeah, I
can guarantee more than 2 people will read this book, because I saw a bunch of them buying it at your party.
That's fine.
at your book thing. So now we move on to the 5 questions. We get to ask you the questions you get to ask our guests every time they're on here. So we're going to start with our 5 questions, which do have an emphasis on prayer, since that is our spiritual emphasis for this year. So Joey, what does prayer look like for you these days?
These days, prayer still looks like praying the Psalms in the morning, and I usually will journal. Like, I usually kind of find a specific verse or a few verses that my heart is kind of connected to, and I'll kind of journal in response to those. And that kind of hopefully sets kind of a trajectory for my heart for the day. I really appreciate working at Signal Press, because usually prayer looks like what happens at the beginning of our meetings. And oftentimes, particularly for our adult discipleship teams, we try to value prayer a significant amount. I think most recently, because this has been a full season, prayer has looked like not listening to something in the car when I'm commuting, just to kind of just try to create a little bit of space in the midst of moving from one thing to the next.
Yeah. Just as an aside, before we move on to the next question, if someone wanted to pray through this Psalter in a month, where would they find a guide for that?
Probably the best thing you could just first go online and Google praying the Psalms in a month.
Okay.
And it would have morning and evening type things. The Anglicans, I think, are the ones, but probably the Catholic Church did this too, but within like an Anglican Book of Common Prayer, or there is a little Anglican Psalter that you can find that's just the Psalms.
Okay.
And it has the divisions of, day 1 morning, day 1 evening, things like that.
When do you pray Psalm 119? Do you do it all in one day?
No, you don't.
Okay.
It's spread out.
That's like my biggest question.
Over like
what do we do with Psalm 119?
3 days. Yes.
I've got a question about that. So let's say you're not necessarily feeling what that psalm is telling you to feel that day. Like, how do you let it shape you, or how do you approach that? How do you think about that?
Yes, I think 2 ways. I think one is that it's an invitation for me to ask myself, like, why is my heart not tracking in this? Because sometimes it's just because I'm in a different space emotionally, because the Psalms are about the heart and the emotions. But sometimes it can just help me to see the ways in which the Psalms also mold our hearts and show us how to pray. And so sometimes it's like, this is an opportunity for me to step back and reflect and say, okay, why am I not tracking with this? Yeah. Is it just I'm in a different space, or is there something else going on? So it's kind of diagnostic in that sense. Second is, oftentimes it's a chance for me to pray for other people.
Yeah.
So, for example, like this morning, this is April 1st. And so in the morning, praying Psalm 2. Psalm 2 is a prayer like about the nations, right? And it's one of those ones that initially when I'm just not feeling this,
Yeah.
But when I think about all the things that are going on in our world, it's a chance for me to pray for the nations, for the nations that, are rebelling against the Lord, and for the people in the nations, So it just kind of expands my view some. And sometimes when I'm not tracking with a psalm, I'll think, well, who could I pray this for? Who's grieving, who's lamenting, who's feeling, who's experiencing injustice. Yeah.
That's great. What do you find most challenging about prayer?
Moving past the superficial to the heart. I think I often, this morning would be another example of just where my heart was just really busy. And so I realized at some point, I'm like, I have been rereading this psalm for the last 5 minutes. And yet my heart has just not connected with it at all. And so I think just kind of engaging my heart in it is often the thing that can be hardest to do. Yes, I think it's easy to live on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite story about prayer?
Yes. I do think that the story of how the Lord took our family to Scotland was like a story of God's faithfulness. Because, I think I had probably started praying that I could go to graduate school like probably the day I graduated from my master's program, and and Kate was kind of like, well, we've done a lot of school, Joey, and she was right. And so, but I think at some point, like I kind of was like, gosh, I just would love to go study in Scotland. And the Lord, at a very different timeline than the one that I thought it would happen. Over the course of probably 3 years, answered that prayer, but in ways that just were much more satisfying if it had been a straight line between A to B, and did much more. And at the end of that, that what the Lord did is still, I get emotional just thinking about this. And I was talking to somebody else about this recently. It is the most visible sign of God's grace in my life, how richly the Lord blessed us in that process. And it changed our lives in so many wonderful ways.
I feel like your story about prayer ties together something else you just talked about, which is understanding and knowing your story, and also the importance of prayer and persistence in prayer, praying for the same thing over the course of 3 years instead of just saying, well, this must not be what he wants for me, and so I'm going to let that go. But I love that when you are willing to step back and look at your story as an unfolding drama is maybe not the right word, but you know what I mean? This unfolding story in which God is engaging with you, and it's active, and you can see how these things are coming together. Prayer plays such an important part to that, because if we don't pray for things, then we're not watching for God to enter into our stories and to change and to move and shift and shape things. And the same things, probably would still happen, but we would miss out on the delight of knowing what was happening behind the scenes. So that's really cool story.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I do think Paul Miller's book does a good job. Praying Life. It does a good job of talking about how prayer keeps us in the story.
Yeah.
Who is someone who has shown you Jesus, Joey?
Yes, I think, of course I could talk about Kate. Of course I could talk about Joseph and James. I think I also talked about my pastor's group when I was asked this, when Abby and I were talking about this earlier this year. I got to spend some time with the pastor who pastored me during seminary, Alan Poole, a couple weeks ago. And he showed me Jesus in so many ways. He was my pastor, the first pastor I had after my father died, because my dad died the summer before I went to seminary. And he just really faithfully stood in that space in a way. I mean, there's a part of me that was trying to make Alan my dad, like in that time. And he both like resisted that because he knew that was not healthy, but he also like was a pastor to me in a really beautiful way. And he just saved me from so much stuff because he was so wise. Like he would just, he was not afraid to like, when I would say something, he would kind of be like, no, no.
That's good.
And like, because I respected him so much, I was kind of like, oh, and I just think I would have been a much more foolish person than I am because without Alan in my life. And so, yes, I think Alan has shown me Jesus. And he just, oftentimes what I have said about Alan is that whenever I'm in a pastoral situation and I wonder what to do, I ask myself, what would Alan do right now? And that's like, that's just such a gift because he is a man of such integrity.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome.
What a blessing when the Lord chooses, or we choose, I guess, to learn through obedience rather than through rebellion.
Right.
It's like he can do it. But I feel like a lot of times we hear stories about learning through rebellion.
Yeah.
But learning through obedience is such a gift.
Yeah.
It's so much easier.
So much easier. Oh my gosh. Why'd I have to go all through all that? I know. Yeah.
All right, so Joey, we've already asked you about your TED Talk, which is the question we usually ask staffers when they're on the podcast. So instead, we would love to know what is an interesting fact that we might not know about you.
I am the sixth. I'm Joseph Holmes Sherrard the sixth. And
Holmes,
Reverend Doctor.
Yes.
Reverend the Reverend Doctor.
Yes.
Joseph Holmes Sherrard the sixth.
That's right. Which means that my Joseph is the seventh.
The seventh.
Yes.
It's like a magical number.
Which is, there's nothing, it's not like, we're a part of the landed gentry or something like that. It's just that there's always been, I guess at some point, after 3, they were like, let's just keep this going.
Rolling.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's just, whenever I say that, people are like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Very regal.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I have my nephew, let me think. It's the 5th or the 4th. I can't remember. But yeah, at that point, then you do have that moment of like, who's going to be the one to stop this?
Yeah. Hope we have a boy.
That's right. Which I've tried to tell Joseph, like you can, but you don't have to. Because there can be, there could be pressure to it. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's cool, but it is
just kind of cool though.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing to say when someone says, "What's an interesting fact about you?"
That's right. Yeah. And I hope from now on you use the full title and end with the 6th.
Yes. People will stop. People will say, we should have Joey come to. No, it takes too long to introduce him.
That's right.
That's really funny.
Oh, man. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you for letting us talk to you about your book.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely.
And thanks,
John, thank you.
Big thanks to John Livingston.
Yeah.
I know. Aren't you glad we let him on our podcast?
Seriously, really glad to be here. Real glad for him to be here.
No, I'm saying you and me, John, let him on. Okay,
agreed.
just making sure that you heard what I just said.
Thank you.
I'd love to be back on.
Yeah. We'll think about having you next week.
We'll just have to.
We'll vote about it actually when you leave the room.
That's right.
Oh, well, I actually don't ever end this thing. So I'm just going to say we're glad you're here with us and happy
Go in peace.
praying. Go in peace. Oh, we should have been saying that this whole time. Go in peace.
Thanks for listening to the Signal Pres podcast. I want to thank our extensive production team, beginning with Matt Broom, sound man extraordinaire.
And thank you to Hannah Sutton and Jackie Carpenter for helping us out with all of our technical difficulties and making it possible for you to listen to this podcast.